All right, put the dick in the bag.
Former Allen University basketball player was shot and killed Sunday night in what authorities are calling a domestic violence incident. One day later, family and friends are honoring 25-year-old Winter Straw for who she was. Our Kiana Jordan talked with those family and friends, and she's live now at the Richland County Sheriff's Department. Kiana, heartbreaking story here. What have you found out today?
Samantha, the family is still in shock. The mother of 25-year-old Winter Straw tells me her older sister witnessed her death, and that is not how they want her to be remembered. From now on, they want people to remember her for the legacy she leaves behind. Family and friends getting together Monday at the scene where 25-year-old Winter Straw lost her life Sunday night.
You're scrolling through TikTok, watching a young couple dance together, laughing, looking absolutely perfect. The comments are flooded with heart emojis and people calling them relationship goals. But what if I told you that in just 3 days, one of them would pump multiple bullets into the other's body before turning the gun on himself? What if that perfect love story you were watching was actually a countdown to murder? If that doesn't give you chills, then you haven't heard the full story of Winter Straw yet. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never look at social media couples the same way again. Before we dive into this heartbreaking case that shook an entire community, I need you to do something important right now. Hit that like button if you want to help save lives. Share this video with someone you care about. And subscribe with notifications on because the story I'm about to tell you contains warning signs that could literally save someone's daughter, sister, or friend from becoming the next victim. Now let me ask you something. How well do you really know the couples you follow online? How sure are you that those perfect posts tell the whole story? Because Winter Straw thought she knew, her family thought they knew, thousands of followers thought they knew, but they were all wrong. Winter Nicole Straw entered this world on July 30th, 1997 in Columbia, South Carolina, and from her very first breath, something was different about this little girl. Her mother, LaShawn Williams, knew she was raising someone extraordinary. The bond between them wasn't just mother and daughter. It was like watching two souls who were meant to find each other in this lifetime. Here's what gets me every time I think about Winter's story. LaShawn used to say, if you met Winter, you loved her instantly. And if you hadn't met her yet, you wished you had. Can you imagine being remembered that way? Can you imagine the kind of person you'd have to be to leave that impression on everyone you encountered? But here's where it gets interesting, and I want you to really pay attention to this part because it's crucial to understanding what happened later. Winter wasn't just naturally lovable, she was actively, intentionally good. At Columbia High School, she didn't just excel, she lifted everyone around her while she climbed. Think about your high school experience for a moment. Remember those students who seemed to have it all, the star athletes, the honor students, the popular kids. Now imagine one of those people actually using their status to help others instead of just enjoying the spotlight. That was Winter. While dominating on the basketball court and maintaining excellent grades, Winter was doing something that sets truly special people apart from everyone else. She was paying attention to the strugglers. Teachers watched her help classmates with homework. Coaches saw her encourage teammates during their worst games. Friends witnessed her volunteer time to guide younger students through high school challenges. Are you starting to see the pattern here? Because this pattern, this beautiful, trusting, giving nature, this is exactly what made Winter so special. And tragically, it's exactly what made her vulnerable to someone who would later exploit every ounce of her kindness. Winter had this incredible gift for making people feel valued. She remembered birthdays when others forgot. She checked on friends during their darkest moments. She celebrated other people's victories like they were her own personal wins. When you hear stories about people who light up every room they enter, Winter Straw is exactly who those stories are describing. Her dreams were as beautiful as her heart. Even as a teenager, Winter talked constantly about becoming a lawyer. But not just any lawyer, she wanted to fight for people who couldn't fight for themselves. She wanted to be a voice for the voiceless. Doesn't that just break your heart knowing what we know now? The success followed naturally. Winter graduated from Columbia High School in 2015 with honors and a full athletic scholarship waiting for her at Allen University. Her family celebrated, knowing this was just the beginning of something amazing. But here's what really shows you who Winter was as a person. Even with a bright future ahead of her, she kept coming back. She mentored younger athletes. She attended games to cheer on teams that came after her. She never forgot where she came from or the people who helped her succeed. How many successful people do you know who actually do that, who remember their roots and give back without being asked? But I need you to understand something crucial about Winter's story. All these beautiful qualities that made everyone love her, her willingness to see good in people, her desire to help others, her trusting heart, these same qualities that made her so special also made her a target for someone who would later destroy everything she was building. At just 18 years old, Winter was ready to conquer the world. She had the grades, the scholarship, the support system, and most importantly, the heart to make a real difference. She had absolutely no idea that the world contained people who could take all of that potential and snuff it out in seconds. Now, before we continue with Winter's college years, I need to ask you something. Are you recognizing any of these qualities in someone you know? Someone who trusts easily, gives freely, and always sees the best in people. Someone who's always there for others but might not speak up if they needed help themselves. Drop a comment below and let me know. Because Winter's story isn't just about one tragic loss. It's about understanding the patterns that can help us protect the people we love. Make sure you're subscribed because in the next part, we're going to follow Winter to Allen University, where she'll become a championship basketball player and beloved campus leader. But we're also going to start seeing how her trusting nature begins to set the stage for the tragedy that's coming. Don't go anywhere. Winter's story is just beginning, and you need to hear every single detail. When Winter Straw stepped onto the campus of Allen University in Columbia, South Carolina, she brought with her something that most 18-year-olds don't have, a crystal-clear vision of who she wanted to become. But here's what makes her story so incredibly heartbreaking. Every single step she took, every goal she achieved, every life she touched was building toward a future that someone would steal from her in the most brutal way imaginable. Before we dive deeper into Winter's college years, I need you to pause this video for just a second and really think about this. How many people do you know who actually follow through on their dreams? Who don't just talk about making a difference, but actually do it every single day? Keep that question in mind as I tell you what Winter accomplished next, because it's going to make what happens later even more devastating. At Allen University, Winter didn't just join the basketball and volleyball teams, she transformed them. Her teammates still talk about her to this day, and what they remember isn't just her athletic ability. They remember someone who never gave up during practice, who lifted everyone else when they wanted to quit, who turned a group of individual players into a real family. Coach Jason James said something about Winter that gives me chills every time I think about it. He said she had a special gift for lifting team spirit when games got tough. Can you imagine being that person, the one everyone looks to when things fall apart? That's an incredible responsibility, and Winter carried it like it was nothing. But here's where Winter's story gets truly amazing. In 2016, Allen University's women's basketball team won something they had never won before, their very first championship. Winter played a huge part in that victory, but the people who knew her best say she wasn't proudest of the trophy or the recognition. She was proudest of how the team came together as a family. Think about that for a moment. In our world of social media highlights and personal branding, Winter cared more about lifting others than celebrating herself. How rare is that? How beautiful is that? And how absolutely tragic is it that someone like this was taken away? If you're feeling emotional about Winter's story, you're not alone. Thousands of people have watched her story and felt the same way. Hit that like button if you're invested in Winter's journey, and make sure you're subscribed because this story gets more complex and more heartbreaking as we continue. Beyond sports, Winter threw herself into campus life with the same passion she brought to everything else. She pledged Delta Sigma Theta sorority, joining the Gamma Pi chapter, and her sorority sisters describe her as someone who truly lived their values: scholarship, service, sisterhood, and social action. But Winter didn't just participate, she organized events and constantly looked for ways to help others succeed. Are you starting to see the pattern here? Every single area of Winter's life was marked by her desire to lift others up. She couldn't help herself, it was just who she was. In the classroom, Winter pursued her Bachelor of Arts degree in social science with a concentration in pre-law, staying true to those dreams she'd had since high school. Her professors noticed something special about her. She wasn't just there to get good grades and move on. She stayed after class to discuss cases and legal concepts, dreaming of a future where she could make a real difference in people's lives. Her college friends paint a picture of someone who balanced serious goals with genuine fun. Winter could study for hours, then switch gears to plan activities for her friends. She had this rare ability to make everyone around her feel important and valued. How many people do you know who can do that? Who can make you feel like you're the most important person in the room? By graduation in 2020, Winter had built a reputation as a natural leader and caring friend. Her professors, coaches, and classmates all saw the same thing: a young woman destined to impact her community in meaningful ways. Everything was falling into place perfectly. But here's where Winter's story takes a turn that shows you exactly who she was as a person. After graduating, she could have done anything. She had the grades, the recommendations, the connections. She could have gone straight to law school or taken a comfortable job. Instead, she chose something that shocked everyone who knew her. Winter took a position as a mental health officer at the South Carolina Department of Corrections Broad River Secure Facility. She chose to work directly with some of society's most troubled individuals. People questioned her decision. Why would someone with her bright future choose such a challenging career path? But for Winter, the choice made perfect sense. She saw inmates not as criminals, but as people who needed help and guidance. Her colleagues were amazed by her ability to connect with even the most difficult cases. She delivered mental and behavioral health programs to SCDC's most troubled inmates, completing additional mental health training to become specialized in crisis intervention. Let me paint a picture for you of what Winter's workday looked like. She dealt with violence, mental illness, and heartbreaking stories every single day. Yet she approached each shift with compassion and professionalism that left her colleagues speechless. Director Brian Sterling later said something about Winter that I think captures exactly who she was. He said she embodied the epitome of a dedicated officer and colleague and clearly cared about her job and the people she served. Can you imagine being remembered that way by your boss, by your colleagues, by the people whose lives you touched? Even while building this incredible career, Winter never forgot where she came from. She regularly returned to Allen University as a mentor and volunteer. She attended home games, cheering on current players and offering guidance to student athletes. Her former teammates and coaches called her when they needed someone to speak to struggling players. University officials say Winter lived by a simple philosophy that breaks my heart every time I think about it. She wanted to pour back into the places that poured into her. Whether she was counseling an inmate having a mental health crisis or helping a college student adjust to campus life, she gave her whole heart to the work. And here's what makes this story so incredibly tragic. Winter was planning to attend law school, continuing her dream of fighting for people who couldn't fight for themselves. She had found her purpose in helping others heal and grow, never knowing that her own life would be cut tragically short by someone she thought she could trust. Comment below and tell me, do you know someone like Winter? Someone who gives so much of themselves to help others? Because what happens next in Winter's story will make you want to protect every person like her that you know. Don't click away now, because in the final part, we're going to meet the man who would destroy everything Winter had built. And we're going to see how even the most caring, intelligent people can become victims of domestic violence. In the months leading up to March 2023, Winter Straw appeared to have found the missing piece of her perfect life, love. She was in a romantic relationship with 27-year-old Renardo Johnson from Pion, South Carolina, and to everyone watching, they seemed like any other young couple navigating life together. But here's what's going to haunt you about Winter's story. Sometimes the person who says they love you the most is the same person planning to destroy you. Before I tell you what happened on March 26, 2023, I need you to understand something crucial about domestic violence. It doesn't always look like what you think it looks like. It doesn't always come with obvious warning signs or red flags that everyone can see. Sometimes it hides behind the most perfect-looking relationships, and that's exactly what makes Winter's story so terrifying and so important. What made Winter and Renardo's relationship particularly visible was their presence on social media, especially TikTok. They created content together that painted the picture of a happy, loving couple. Their videos showed them laughing together, dancing, sharing those sweet moments that couples love to capture and share with the world. Think about your own social media feed right now. How many couples do you follow who post happy content together? How many times have you seen a relationship online and thought, goals? Or, I want what they have? Well, thousands of people felt exactly that way about Winter and Renardo. Their TikTok account quickly gained followers who saw them as the definition of couple goals. Comments poured in from viewers who admired their chemistry and the way they seemed to genuinely enjoy each other's company. The videos showed Renardo being affectionate and caring toward Winter, and she appeared happy and comfortable with him. But here's what's going to shake you to your core. Those same videos that made people feel warm and fuzzy about love, those were filmed just days before Renardo would pump multiple bullets into Winter's body. The same hands that held hers tenderly in those videos would soon hold a gun pointed at her heart. If you're feeling sick to your stomach right now, you should be. Because this is the reality of domestic violence that nobody wants to talk about. It can hide behind the most beautiful facade, and Winter's story proves it. Friends and family who followed their social media saw what everyone else saw: a young woman in love sharing her happiness with the world. The post showed date nights, casual moments at home, and the kind of everyday interactions that made their relationship seem real and authentic to their audience. Winter's natural charisma shone through in these videos. Her followers loved her personality and the way she carried herself. She had always been someone who made others feel good, and that quality translated perfectly to social media. People were drawn to her positive energy and genuine smile. But social media, as we all know, only shows what people choose to share. And what Winter's mother, LaShawn Williams, would later say about this relationship will absolutely destroy you. She said there was no warning signs. Let me repeat that because it's the most important thing you'll hear in this entire video, there were no warning signs. This statement reveals the most terrifying aspect of what happened to Winter. Even LaShawn, who had raised Winter and knew her better than anyone else, saw no indication that her daughter was in danger. Winter's friends, who spent time with the couple, noticed nothing concerning. Her coworkers at the Department of Corrections, who saw her every day, observed no changes in her behavior or mood that would suggest she was afraid or being mistreated. If you're watching this and thinking about someone in your life, if you're worried about a friend or family member in a relationship, please don't wait for obvious signs. Sometimes there aren't any. Share this video with someone you care about because Winter's story could save a life. Sunday, March 26, 2023. This date is burned into the memory of everyone who loved Winter Straw. At approximately 6 p.m., the peace of a quiet Sunday evening was shattered when emergency calls flooded into the Richland County Sheriff's Department. Residents reported hearing gunshots coming from the 700 block of Mallet Hill Road. Deputies rushed to the scene, and when they arrived at Carrington Place apartment complex, they were met with a scene that would haunt them forever. Outside one of the apartment buildings, they discovered the body of a young woman lying motionless on the ground. Winter Nicole Straw, 25 years old, the woman who had dedicated her career to helping others, who had mentored students and brought joy to everyone she met, was gone, shot multiple times by someone she had trusted with her heart. As deputies secured the scene, they quickly learned this wasn't random violence. The shooter was identified as 27-year-old Renardo Johnson, the same man who had danced with Winter in those TikTok videos just days before. The same man who had appeared so loving and caring in their social media posts. But Johnson wasn't found outside with Winter's body. He had barricaded himself inside one of the apartments, armed and dangerous, refusing to come out. The man who had just taken Winter's life was now in a standoff with police. For nearly 3 hours, trained negotiators worked tirelessly to establish communication with Johnson. They used every technique they knew, hoping to end the standoff without further violence. The hours dragged on as the community watched and waited. Around 9 p.m., after 3 long hours of negotiations, Johnson suddenly stopped responding. An eerie silence fell over the scene. Then, moments later, that silence was broken by the sound of a single gunshot from inside the apartment. Johnson had turned the gun on himself, choosing to end his own life rather than face the consequences of murdering the woman he had claimed to love. He was rushed to a local hospital but died from his self-inflicted wound, taking with him any answers about why he had destroyed such a beautiful life. The news spread quickly through Colombia and beyond. People who had followed Winter and Renardo's relationship online couldn't understand how the couple they had seen as goals had ended in such devastating violence. But Winter's story doesn't end with tragedy. Her community came together to honor her memory with a purple vigil. Purple was her favorite color. They dedicated a purple bench in her name where people can still visit today to remember her incredible impact. Winter's story continues to save lives by teaching us that domestic violence can happen to anyone, even someone who seems to have it all together. If you or someone you know needs help, please reach out to local authorities or domestic violence hotlines. Hit that like button if Winter's story touched your heart. Subscribe and share this video because her story could literally save someone's life. Let me know in the comments what state or country you're watching from, and remember, always check on the people you love. Winter Nicole Straw's light was taken too soon, but her story continues to shine as a warning and a call to action for all of us.